So, if you see them, then... Okay, so this is a... So I don't want to tell you more about this. Let me move to another problem. And this is a... So, we had this polymath project led already to a very lively debate, which was presented in front of donors for the Institute of Advanced Studies, where the main debater were Timothy Gowers, which was for the polymath as some way to revolutionize the mathematical activity. Peter Sarnak was against the polymath because he thought that this revolution will be will be bad and not good, and will corrupt the young people or something. And there were other. I was sort of a medium participant, and I more or less thought that they were both a little crazy. That there's no hope and no danger that this will be a much effect. But actually, the donors really liked it. So, well, I think they liked it. I don't know. They didn't tell us. So, in any case, here is another example. So one, but Noga was also participating, Noga Alon, and he said that one fear is that instead of doing mathematics, you will start being some sort of a manager, that you will move problems from this without understanding. Okay, it's not so bad. I mean, some of us do academic administration, so to be a manager is actually good. But okay, so this is an example of a problem where I had this feeling, where I asked some problem, and then several people contributed, and I think it was good activity. It benefited mankind, or at least. But it's not. But it's fairly far away from my area. But let me tell you about it because it's sort of fun, and it started actually. So the question is, so you have the Möbius function, so the Doron mentioned it before, and you ask, so a sequence of numbers is called Möbius random if it's orthogonal to the Möbius function. So you have a sequence f of m, and to say that the sequence is Möbius random means that the sum of f of m, mu m from 1 to n is this law. Okay. So this means that, so for example, the sequence of all ones is Möbius random, and this is the prime number theorem. So you ask what are the Möbius random functions. So Peter Sarnak gave a talk in Jerusalem, and he says you can think about a function described in terms of their complexity, but he thought that this is a bad idea because he believes that that factoring is in P, so it's not computationally hard, and therefore he believes that ultimately there are easy function which has large correlation with the Möbius function. Okay, so this is, everybody is entitled to have a belief, but this is so far beyond the horizon that even if you are interested in computational complexity, this will not, this will be completely intractable. So this led to a much simpler question, which was, is it true that the Möbius function is orthogonal to, so there were two functions. One is what's called function in AC0. So this is bounded depth function described in terms of the binary digit of the number. And the other thing, which would be a consequence to the so-called Walsh function. So Walsh functions is essentially you take the number m, you look at certain subset of the digit, and you take the parity on this subset. And if you take the full set of all the digits, then this is the sequence you get is the Morse function. That again, Doron mentioned 1 plus 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, and so on. And so I posed this question in my blog and in the Mass Overflow, and then several people solved it. So the one problem was solved by Ben Green, and then another problem was solved by Bourgain, and they keep doing. And I think the only bad effect was that I was asked to be referee of one of these papers. But somehow I had an excuse, so it was okay. And then this Möbius randomness had some another. So there are more and more. So after the Walsh function were finished, the next thing to consider was the so-called polynomial over Z2, which are more complicated. And the simplest thing is Ruding-Shapiro. So okay, well, once I met Jean Bourgain and said, yeah, you know, if you will write it on your blog, I'll think about it. So, you know where the world is coming to. In any case, I posed it in a mass overflow. So I posed it in my 17, and nobody paid attention to it. And then I did something very dramatic, which you cannot see it here. I offer a bounty for this question. So this means that I was willing to give some of my reputation, I think 250 of my reputation, for somebody who will solve this problem. Well, okay, I have maybe 10,000 reputation. It's not so much as I said, but it's okay. I mean, you know, when you go above 10,000, you have the privilege to vote to delete questions entirely. And above 3,000, you have the privilege to close questions. And there are very heated arguments between very respectable mathematicians on these issues. And the other mathematicians, once they passed the 10,000, they became so eager to delete questions. It's unbelievable. You know, they have the power. Anyway, so I offer the bounty to people who need some reputation, and this was only a few months later, and lo and behold, there was some discussion which was led by a solution for this problem by Terry Tao. You see, he has a lot of reputation, 25,000, and he gained 300 additional reputation by answering this question. Okay, so see, this incentive method really works. Okay, so I'm closing. You know, there is 40. Yeah, it's 48 minutes. I wanted to. There's one item I wanted to mention also, but I thought there is another item which is maybe even more amusing. So the next item I wanted to mention is, again, this is activity which took place over a blogs, and this is a discussion about the feasibility of quantum computers, or more specifically about the feasibility of quantum error correction. So there was almost a year-long debate between me and a physicist from MIT, which is called Aram Harrow. This is something I work on in the last 7 or 8 years, and I wrote a paper. And in any case, we discussed all sorts of technical questions on this issue. This was the first post, and there were several other posts. I don't think in the time we have, I will be able to describe my skeptical approach to quantum fault tolerance and quantum computing, and Aram Harrow replies. But this was a fairly, in my opinion, of course, you're all invited to look at it. We had some nice posts like this one. Can you hear the shape of quantum computing? This is the best I like more, because this is ideas which raised during the debate, and this is a post where I try to explain the major difference in the world before and after quantum computing, which may suggest that these things are unrealistic. In any case, I don't want to talk more about this skeptical direction. You're all invited to look at it. But I want to mention another activity that I have, also of a skeptical nature, which is also related to mathematics and also to this question and answer sites. And this is regarding computer games. So actually, it's like Mass Overflow, but this is it's a post about video computer games, and well, okay, I don't see here. It's called Arcade, and you see there are fairly interesting questions, like how can I tell if a corpse is safe to eat, or what is the most efficient. Well, no, the one I like also is how can I kill a dog? This is a very nice. And here is a really nice question with is Angry Birds deterministic? So I don't know, who are you familiar with the game Angry Birds? So who never heard about this game?
Never.
Okay. Okay, so Angry Bird is a game. It's a computer game. You can have it on your iPhone or whatever, or smartphone, or also on. And this is a game that. Okay, the story is that the pigs stole the eggs of the chickens, and then the chickens they are angry, and the Angry Birds are. And then what you have to do as a player, you have to shoot various forms of chickens in ballistic trajectories so that they hit the pigs and the houses or whatever they. So I don't know. I mean, is this a fair? Those of you who see Angry Birds, this is a fair. Okay, so I know I like to play video games from time to time, and you see here is actually a very good question: is Angry Bird deterministic? And the answer is also very interesting. And this was a study there. There is answer which got, you see, this question got 146 upvotes, and there was answer there with about 200. And he explained that actually the game is deterministic, but because of the sensitivity for you have effect like it is random. So it's very hard to do the same thing again. But he somehow, okay, so. Now I was playing Angry Bird, and I noticed that I kept a file with my records, and I noticed that I'm breaking my records very nicely, and but you know I'm a bit skeptical, and then I realized, or I thought I realized, that the game is becoming easier and easier. So it's easier to break record as a function of time, which actually is very nice, very pleasant. So because you see, if you play the game and you don't learn anything new, then the probability to break a record, the number of records you expect to break when you play n times is roughly log n. My experience is that it's almost linear in n. So, of course, one explanation is that I learn new things and new strategies, and this is why I break the record. But I didn't believe so much in this explanation, especially in some of the rounds. You just have to shoot in the same direction, and there's no. And also, it's not entirely contradictory. It's possible that you do learn new things, and also that the game is become easier, which enable you to learn. In any case, okay, I thought I will ask a question on this side, and maybe this question will succeed to be as glorious as this is Angry Bird random, and I will ask the question: is Angry Bird becoming easier with new and new version of the game, which I was quite sure. So see, I still enjoy playing the game, and I still enjoy breaking new records, and now I have both the satisfaction that I break the record, and also have the satisfaction that my theory that the game become easier is verified. And okay, then what happened? Okay, no, I have to. Okay, so is this? Okay, is Angry Bird becoming easier with new versions? So this was, I must say, this was the second attempt to ask this question. Okay, so, okay, I should maybe, so this is a very detailed question, and I should explain this minus. They didn't like this question at all. They didn't like this question at all. And actually, this was the second attempt. The first time I asked it, it was not so detailed and maybe not so polite. I said maybe the angry bird tried to make it easier to give the people the illusion that, and then within half an hour, I got, not only that I didn't get 176 reputation on this game, I got minus 11 in half an hour, and then it was completely deleted entirely. And then after about a week or two after my pride was recovered, I decided to ask a more detailed question and explain. And you see, one reason that I think that it became easier is because I break a lot of records. But a much better reason is that there is a site with the record of Angry Birds in Massachusetts in 2011. And in many of the stages, I'm in the top 10 people in Massachusetts. And you know, you can ask my children. I mean, I can believe a lot of things about myself, but not that I am such a good. I'm fairly mediocre video. So I am fairly convinced that my skeptical idea about Angry Birds are correct. There's nothing wrong with it, by the way. I don't blame them. It's perfectly okay. Actually, it's a very nice strategy if they indeed make it easier to get higher record as a function of time. But this question didn't gain much support. People didn't like the idea that okay, so I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Here be glad to answer questions or comments in private. If you'd like to join us for dinner, let me know right now.
Okay.